What creates tension between groups of people, and why is that important in the Southwest? Soon you will see tensions come from things such as laws and location. At this point of time, the two groups we are looking at today are the Texans and the Mexican community in the 1920s to the 1930s. Over the past few decades, many have crossed from Mexico to the U.S. Southwest to work in agriculture during specific seasons. Over time, families began to settle in the United States Southwest, but two important laws were passed that made it harder for families to immigrate. These two laws were the Immigration Act of 1917 and 1924. These laws only allowed a certain number of people into the U.S. by literacy test and a specific number of people by country. The grip of the Border Patrol became stronger too as a result, and we can then assume that these border towns in Texas have experienced some tensions based on who it seems is American. Race comes up because people were often stopped by Border Patrol if they appeared to be Mexican. Now, why is it important we note what is going on in the 1920s to the 1930s? We can interpret sources at this time period as a result. The source to look at today is a literary journal article from the Southwest Review. The Southwest Review is a journal of the Southern Methodist University in Dallas, Texas, that would write about ongoing events. The article we are looking into today is America Invades the Border Towns. This article mainly focuses on the interactions of the Texans and Mexican community. Right now, we are going to examine a quote and see what we can learn from that. As context for the first quote, this relates to service in World War I. We hope that this would change the American attitude towards us, but to them, we are still Mexicans. World War I was right before the first immigration law, and many Mexican Americans drafted into the army to help. But even if they worked to protect the U.S., they were still met by the distinguishing factor of being the other race. Therefore, we can see there was little to no acceptance of the Mexican people despite living in the U.S. Knowing this, we can apply what we've learned from this first quote to understand the impacts of tension on the Mexican community. From this, we can examine quote 2. And it is our place and our duty now to learn American ways, to send our children to American schools, to learn the English language, not that we are ashamed of our Mexican descent, but because these things will enable us to demand our rights and to improve ourselves. Here we can identify the scenarios that Mexican American children are predicted to face. As a parent, they want their children to move forward, but continuing to be proud of who they are. From this, we learn the actions of the younger generation show us the efforts to fight against the idea of race. Race being everyone who is not seen as white, but learning rights to move forward. For the few generations, as seen in the text here, we learn that migrants are the beginning of change for communities by the border, a new version of the Mexican community, and new ways of life as a Mexican American. Now, going through these quotes, we want to see what this means as a greater context. Understanding how identity can impact individuals and communities, we are able to see the efforts to move forward as a group of people and what that means for acceptance in the future, in a time where Mexican people were still perceived as the other. Using the quotes, we can take what we've learned and see what it means about the tensions experienced in the Mexican community back then and of now. Here are the sources I used for today. Thank you.